Welcome to Raaonline Anatomy lecture series. When I say the word ventricles, you immediately think of heart, isn't it? Ventricles of the heart are dilated chambers of the heart lined by endocardium and filled with blood. Similarly, the ventricles of the brain are spaces inside the brain which are lined by ependyma and filled with cerebrospinal fluid. These are derived from the cavity of the embryonic neural tube. Initially, the cavity of the neural tube is a single simple tube. As the brain vesicles develop and assume different shapes, the cavity inside different parts of the brain assume different shapes and they are named differently. Though they are named differently, they are part of a single cavity. So, they are in communication with each other. So, we can define the ventricles of brain as series of interconnecting spaces and channels within the brain lined by ependyma. It's a special type of epithelium of the ventricles and it contains cerebrospinal fluid. Why should we study about the ventricles of the brain? Hydrocephalus is an important clinical condition in which the cerebrospinal fluid inside the ventricles they are increased and they exert pressure over the adjacent structures producing various symptoms of hydrocephalus. So, to understand the symptoms of hydrocephalus and to manage hydrocephalus, we should understand the relations of the ventricles. So, to manage hydrocephalus, the first step is understanding the anatomy of the ventricles. So, the phase 1 MBBS students must be competent with the anatomy of the lateral ventricle. This is the competency for phase 1 MBBS as per CBME curriculum, which is to describe and demonstrate the parts, boundaries and features of third, fourth and lateral ventricles. In this lecture, we are going to see only about the lateral ventricles. Lateral ventricles are described under the following headings: definitions, communication, divisions or the horns, which again are described under the following headings: extent, shape in the coronal section and boundaries, and finally the choroid plexus and the clinical anatomy of lateral ventricles. Clinical anatomy is same for all the ventricles, the third, fourth and the lateral ventricle. So, this clinical anatomy will be dealt in detail along with the third and the fourth lateral ventricles.